Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. 31 days away.
A month.
From week one. We are one standard operating month away.
Yeah.
From actual, real Raider football.
Feels good. It feels
it's
right.
So close. It's so close. I'm getting.
It feels right.
I can feel it down on my plums. I can blue a shoe down on my plums. It's so close. You can tell over my shoulder that the Raiders flag was replaced with the American flag. And you're like, RJ, that makes no sense. It's preseason week one. Why, when you're getting close to the season, you'd put the old stars and bars replacing the Raiders flag? Like, well, I'm glad you asked, because I have two flags. One in my background, so everything I do in Zoom for Sirius or podcasts or everything I do, I'm representing something. But I also have a giant flagpole in my front yard, which most of the time has the stars and bars. But because it's preseason week one, because we're 31 days away from Raider time, the silver and black is up on the main stage. Hey, you. It's like at a strip club. It's like up on the main stage. It's candy. It's all right. Hey, Destiny, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Candy's going up there.
All right, gentlemen, take your hands out of your pants and put them together for Savannah.
Should you a stiffy and a jiffy? How about table three? Table three. So that's where we're at. We're so close. I can taste it. A month away.
Dude, look at freaking Razor. Razor Ramon is super pumped up.
Right?
He's super excited. That's his excited face.
He's resting up because he knows he only has 31 days until he gets to watch real Raider football.
He's recharging those batteries right now.
So today, I had the pleasure of taking Mrs. Clifford and Princess Clifford, Queen Clifford and Princess Clifford, to the county fair. Fantastic time. The orange time there. It's always great, man. Like, even though they charge an arm and a leg, parking costs so much. When you buy tickets to go on rides, it's all digital now, and they give you a QR code, and it makes you download an app, confirm your email, put in your number, make a password, and then it still doesn't work. Like, as a dad, I want to blow my brains out. All of that, all the pain and hassle that comes with it, still is worth it, because the county fair is just so fun, right? The daughter with the petting zoo, rode a horse, went on the Ferris wheel.
Those stinky ass goats and shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was great. She had a great time. So real quick before we get to the question of the day. So my wife and I, we rock, paper, scissors every time we have to take the daughter to the bathroom. She's 3.5. And so she's potty trained, but requires massive supervision. It's like SEAL Team 6 is required to get her in and out of the bathroom. So I go in there, and it's like, there's 10 stalls in a row. There's one dude in one stall, and I need to go. Like, all right, princess, which one should I go in? She's like, go in the purple one. They're colored, so I'm taking a piss. I'm midstream. Little Frankie, the angel of my life, walks over to the stranger dude, middle-aged man, peeing in a urinal, walks into the urinal. Like, there's the walls of the urinal. She shimmies into the urinal, looks up at him. Hi. He's midstream, dick in hand, peeing. And my little princess is 10 inches away from him pissing. Luckily, I could tell this dude was a dad, because he understood the situation, made eye contact with me, direct eye contact, and just kind of like shrugged his shoulders. And I kind of shrugged it back and just look, I'm not looking at your daughter.
I get it.
Look, I have kids too. They have minds of their own. I'm going to look at you. You're going to look at me. I'm not going to look.
The guy. I just got out. I ain't trying to catch another one. I ain't trying to catch another case.
I ain't going back to prison, right? So yeah. So that's all the dads know what I'm going through, right? But a little taste of fatherhood. The part that they don't put in nursery rhymes and in books. That's what you do as a dad in public restrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a memorial service for an uncle of mine. I hadn't seen him in a while, but I was very fond of him. And so my family went, right? My sister's there with her 3-month-old daughter, I guess, now 3 months. Or
Uncle Soto.
Yeah. She had to get up and go out, and she had to pump. See, I got to pump. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, well, I'll just.
Like, yeah, like Uncle Soto said that multiple times throughout the course of his life, but it means something very different.
Very different. So I'm sitting there.
Going to the dive bar. You got a pump.
Yeah, right. And so my aunt, the widow now, when I greeted her when I showed up, she's like, hey, my uncle was a retired sheriff. So we got some guys from his work are here. And I want you to say something, on the family side. And I'm like, on the outside, I'm like, oh, sure, whatever you need, no problem. On the inside, I'm shitting my pants because it's like 200 people and I got like 3 minutes notice to go up there.
She's like, I watch you on the Autumn Windbags, and I know how you have such a sophisticated dick and fart humor. I think that's perfect for the deceased.
So I'm up there. I go up there, right? And it's like I'm looking at it.
Right, here's 17 things that I hate about Derek Carr.
God, terrible, dude. So there's like so many people there, right? And then like I'm trying to like say what I want to say, like convey my true feelings about my uncle, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like make it make sense. And then like my aunt's there, like crying, like next to him in the casket. I was like, oh my God, dude. She's like 5 feet away from me. It was probably one of the hardest things I had to do just to keep everything together, but I killed it. I said what I wanted to say. I threw a couple of jokes in there.
Not to toot my own horn, but I funeraled the fuck.
No, man. Service. Look, I said what I had to say. I ended it on a real heart-tugging note. I spoke to my cousins, his daughters, and I threw a couple of jokes at him because I said, well, he's not going to get in trouble now, but when I was younger, because I talked about how good he was about not bringing his work home.
We picked up those two. I guess they were hookers, but I don't remember paying.
I don't remember paying. No, but he was really good about not bringing his work home, and he was always really happy and really, just fun. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, he did bring his work home once when I was helping him like sort through warrants. I'm like, I guess he can't get in trouble now, but yeah. And I talked about how he was the only person I knew when I was like under 10 that had a black box. So he would hand me a TV guide. He's a cop, right? With a black box. He would hand me a TV guide and be like, hey man, just highlight all the movies you want to watch, and I'll have the girls tape them for you. I'm like, sweet.
You're like Spice 2, Spice 3, Where the Girls Aren't 7.
The Hills Have Thighs, like everything.
Debbie does Dallas 14.
The Devil Wears Nada. All of those. And yeah, man, that's all. I threw a couple jokes in there. I thought I did a good job. I feel like I represented how I felt about him really well. But that was a tough situation, man. It was like no notice, a lot of people, somber mood like it should be. And then like just the motion right there. I was like, oh my God. My aunt's like, yeah, your leg was kind of shaking. I'm like, Thea, you should have gone up there and said something. It was not easy to go up there.
That was my third leg, thinking about The Hills Have Thighs.
Yeah,
watching with my uncle.
Sweet, yeah. At a freaking memorial service, I'm gonna talk like that.
So we promised we'll get to some Raider talk here in a second, but because I just went to the fair, and because we are foodaholics on this show, and because you guys, whenever we talk any question of the days that's food related, you guys lose your mind.
It's like at least 150 comments.
I'm all for, right? Question of the day. Best county fair food. What's the best county fair? So today I went to the county fair, wife and daughter. I actually didn't get that. I don't know what the proper word is. Like stuff? Ethnic or not. I mean, just not that elaborate. I just went giant corn dog, because you have the normal corn dog, you have the giant corn dog. Giant corn dog out of the gate.
Well, 2 bites here doesn't count.
Chili cheese fries.
Ugh.
Bloomin' onion.
That's guaranteed hot hole right there.
I got the daughter her first chocolate dipped vanilla cone, right? So you dip it in the hard chocolate shell, right?
Yeah.
Got that. She murdered it. It's on my Instagram if you take a look, if you care, right? She's just like surgical precision.
If you want to watch a 3-year-old freaking eat,
you want to see a 3-year-old just like surge, like she's doing brain surgery, like getting this thing. Like she's standing in the middle of the hallway. It's outside, but like she just like once she got it, she just stopped. She did not move her feet once, at all.
She's like in the hot dog eating contest, Nathan's. She's just focused.
So I didn't go crazy. I didn't get like deep fried Kool-Aid, Oreo on a stick, bacon wrapped drumstick. I actually went pretty conservative this time. No regrets. No regrets whatsoever. I'm stuffed and I feel good. But I'm curious, Soto. Best county fair food. You've been to this very specific Orange County Fair.
Yes, sir.
They all got kind of the same resume, same menu. What do you think?
I have like the three phases, right? So you got to get the corn first, fully loaded, right?
Okay.
Then you got to get the bacon wrapped turkey leg.
Got it.
And then you got to get the funnel cake. Finish.
Funnel cake's the standard operating procedure. I did not get. Like that you should always get it, but I was just stuffed on junk. See, I'm people are like, oh, RJ, you don't need like sweets. Like I'm not a big sweets guy, right? I don't get a lot of like
me either,
cake.
But like I need to have a funnel cake if I'm there.
So they're like, oh, you're such a health nut. I'm like, dude, I will bury junk food like chili cheese fries, corn dogs. Like I'll AM PM like tostadas, like just like terrible gas station like egg sandwiches. Like I'll crush terrible food. I'm just not a sweets guy. I'm not a very big sweets guy. So but yeah, the funnel cake I think is standard operating procedure.
It's pretty solid.
I didn't do it.
So one year I didn't get to the funnel cake. They had, and they only had it 1 year. It was a deep fried peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which is one of my favorites, peanut butter and jelly. Yep. So they get the bread, thick bread, right? Peanut butter on both sides, like you should do. Jelly in the middle. They crimp the outside, so it's like a crimp, like a machine, right? So it's all like a pocket. They dip that in like super sweet pancake batter. They deep fry the whole thing. Strawberry topping, powdered sugar, whipped cream on top. I killed that thing. It was one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is like so when you do a deep fried Oreo or they had deep fried Kool-Aid or like a deep fried popsicle, you're like, how is that even possible? I don't know. When you go deep fried over the top, it's hard to eat because it doesn't feel like a meal. It feels like you're like, I'm eating something that a unicorn shit out. You know what I mean? When it's like a deep fried peanut butter and jelly, you're like, okay, this is an actual meal I had every day from 1st to 7th grade. It's just deep fried. It's just, it's unhealthy, but I'm taking a normal meal and just injecting it with steroids, which is much better than like, all right, here's an Oreo, here's ice cream, here's pixie sticks, and then we're going to batter it and fry it. You know what I mean?
So good.
You can get.
I love it. That was one of my favorite things. That was one of my favorite things.
I'm saying all those things not to eat, and you're like, oh yeah, that's delicious.
All that stuff is good. The gator chips with like the jalapenos, and they're like nachos basically, but like the gator chips with the cheese and jalapenos on it. Mm.
The best part was they had these skewered pork chops on a stick.
Yeah, they got those again.
Less than 30 feet away from the pig petting zoo. That was my favorite part. It was literally, it's like, well,
the pig races, like this guy didn't make it.
I went to the pig races. Yeah. Like I literally went to the pig races today. It's like, oh yeah, they, it's really good. Like logistically, we don't have to pay for shipping. It's like, if they lose, just walk them over, get your pork chop.
Hey guys, come get your last place freaking medal.
Smells delicious. Question of the day. We'll pin it down in the comment section. Best county fair food. The county fair summer season's kind of coming to a close, right? That's the only downside of football season starting is the county fair season coming to a close.
You still got the LA fair.
There's still time. But it's winding down.
Yeah.
It's winding down. We're not in the thick of it. It's winding down. Not as many concerts.
It's always so goddamn hot in Pomona when you go up there for the LA fair.
I never do LA. It's too hot.
I used to do it before because it was bigger and they had the horse races there before. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh man, I can't do it anymore. It's just too much. I'm getting too old for that shit.
So if you're saying, guys, you're 13 minutes into a Raiders podcast and all you've talked about is food, it's for a good reason. The unofficial, so a couple things came out today. And we're all going to do it in order for a good reason, right? So Tristan Kuhn tweeted this out. Our buddy Justin, thank you, Justin, gave us the assist on this. And it's two graphs. In orange is every member of the Raiders roster currently, of the 90 players on the roster and the preseason roster, that came from the Josh McDaniels, Ziegler family, right? There's only very, very tiny number of players left from the John Gruden and earlier regimes, right? If you're looking at it on the podcast, or you can't see it on the podcast, but if you're looking on YouTube, you're like, wow, that's a lot of orange, because that's the case. Basically, the only players that are starting that didn't come from Mick Ziegler are Josh Jacobs, which, that situation. Who knows what's going to happen there? Hunter Renfrow, they didn't draft, but they extended. Kolton Miller, which they did not extend nor draft. He's by far the highest paid player that the Mick Ziegler regime hasn't touched, right? He was drafted by the last regime, extended by the last regime. Andre James, Jermaine Eluemenor, Maxx Crosby, Divine Diablo, Nate Hobbs, Trevon Moehrig, and special teams. Basically, anyone else with even a semi-decent chance of touching the field, with the exception of Faison, who's hurt, Parker, if there's injuries, Robertson is going to see reps.
Faison should be orange, because he played for another team last year, and then this regime brought him back.
Even that, so that's even more my point.
Yeah.
Basically, this entire roster is what this regime wants, right? We haven't even started the second season of this regime, and whatever was left from the last one is more or less gone. And then you look at that, and then you time it, and you turn it into this one, which is everyone in blue, former Patriot. Garoppolo, Hoyer, Johnson, Myers, Dorsett, Lacey, Wilkerson, Carter, Hollister, Huron, Butler, Jones, Eluemenor, all guys that were on the Patriots at some point under this new regime. So why am I bringing this up? Why are we even talking about this? What's this even matter? It's like, well, it matters because this season, it is what Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler want on their roster, with one giant exception. There's $30 million in dead cap. The vast majority, that's not a Mick Ziegler problem. The only $7 million of that is a Mick Ziegler contract, and 5 of that's Derek Carr. The vast majority of that is left over from Gruden and Mayock's terrible roster management. So it's
still less than last year's,
which is still less than. So they're still feeling a little bit of the pain of the. And I'm higher on John Gruden as a coach than most. I don't know anybody who's high on John Gruden or Gruden as a GM, right? So they're still dealing with the pain of the terrible roster management cap-wise of that dead cap. So that's still a thing. Like we can't say like, hey, everything they do is 100% them. We're not quite there yet. Next season, yes. This season, they're still dealing $30 million in like $30 million. Like that is a Pro Bowl linebacker plus a Pro Bowl corner plus a Pro Bowl right tackle. Like that's 3 like it's a big deal, right? Other than that, though, other than the dead cap, which is very real, Soto, it's 95% Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler's roster that they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, and we saw it coming because I know that we saw the way the roster was constructed, and because we do this, we're able to kind of look a little bit deeper into the team and how the roster is made up. So we knew it was a lot more delicate and a lot more involved than just, oh well, they took over a playoff team and they should be better. They should be at least sniffing the playoff. And it's like, hold on, Turbo. The perfect storm hit last year, a huge dead cap plus just no help from the draft whatsoever in the last 4 years. It kind of like all crashed together last year. So this year is like still a lot of the young players that we bringing in that maybe should, if some of the previous draft picks would have worked out, wouldn't have been playing as much as we're going to ask them to play. And then, we have the dead cap for a reason. We players that aren't playing for us that were signed to the ridiculous contracts, we're still have to pay.
Off the top of your head, do you know we're still hit from Corey Littleton on the dead cap? I'm looking up right now. I'm just looking up right now, so I'm not off. I don't know off the top of my head. I looked it up right now.
It's like 7, right?
10.
Oh shit.
9.98.
What's Leatherwood?
Still on Corey Littleton.
Like 9, right?
Leatherwood's 4.
Oh, 4, only 4. Well, that's
thank God. I'm still rookie deal.
It's a second year. It's a second year. Okay.
Second year rookie deal.
Okay. It's second year off of our books. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, dude, it's fucking ridiculous, man. And the dead cap was actually more last year, and it was still as bad a active draft capital. Like we still had as bad a draft. Like, you know, it was a lot of stuff. I'm not making excuses because we do have to win. We do have to show improvement. But it gives you a little bit of a deeper look than just saying, oh, playoff team 2 years ago, 6 wins last year. Oh, this regime sucks. It's like, no, yeah, I'm not saying that they don't suck. I'm saying there's a lot of things that maybe if you don't know this stuff, really makes a lot of sense if you take a look at it.
Yeah, and I think that's the depth of knowledge about, because again, you're more forgiving of this new regime than I am. But we're both in the exact same boat.
Yeah, I wouldn't say forgiving. I think I'm holding off and to make a decision yet.
Well, and it's okay. So if a regime is doing great, and you're balls deep in that regime, right? Like, you know,
4 years in, right?
Like the Bengals, right? Like they've been crushing it the last few years, right? If we're a Bengals podcast, we'd be like, oh, they're killing it. Why? Why are they killing it? Right? We can just look and be like, oh, the head coach, the GM, Joe Burrow, like they're obviously all doing amazing because their record's great and they went to a Super Bowl and they're doing so well and all these things. But if we were balls deep in that regime, we'd be like, why? What did they do that was so good? Right? Same thing with the Raiders, right? This team fell apart this season. Why? Oh, but Josh McDaniels sucks. Oh, maybe
he might. Yeah, maybe. We don't know yet. Yeah,
but we had this dead cap. We overplayed our skill set last season. X, Y, and Z, all these other elements, right? So we start looking at things very specifically, right? Dave Ziegler, it's like, oh, he put together a shit team. Why?
He did a pretty good job, I think.
Give me specific examples, right? Tell me specifically what he did right or wrong, right? And we can point to and again, I'm less forgiving. There's plenty of wrongs, right? Paying Darren Waller too early, Chandler Jones contract, etc. The last draft looking really good. Way too early to tell about this draft, but preseason reports seem to think that we can get multiple starters out of this last draft. Way too early to tell. But that's when you start diving into the details more, right? That's what you're not going to get on SportsCenter in 20-second sound clip. It's, oh, yeah, the Raiders fell from, 10 wins to 6. Josh McDaniels sucks. Maybe. But let's dive into it more. And one of the big things is salary cap purgatory. Not purgatory. It's not awful. There's been way worse, but $30 million is a lot of great things.
We're pulling ourselves out of that grave, okay? We're not dead. It's just...
We're not dead. The hands are coming out of the grave. You're like, doing one of these things, right?
It's pretty freaking bad the last couple years.
It's like, what, $30 million you can plug a lot of holes, right?
Yeah.
Get away. But that's kind of where we're at, right? It's like, okay, it's their team. It's their players, over 90%. The only thing that's been out of their hands is the $30 million in dead cap. So this season, it's, okay, you've got your guys. You know what you want. You've got your coaches. Basically, everyone's returning coaching-wise this next season. Everyone that matters, right? So your pieces are in place. You got the quarterback you wanted. You got rid of guys you didn't want. You've picked up all the guys you want. Other than $30 million in dead cap, again, not nothing. But other than that, this team is going in the direction that this regime wants. And so now the brunt of responsibility is weighing heavier on these shoulders, good and bad. We're hoping good.
I think it's really what they wanted, and the way that it was pretty smart. So they didn't go after a ton of big name guys last year. They went after basically one. As far as free agency goes, went after one. And
yeah, Devontae Adams doesn't count.
He doesn't count.
He was coming. Yeah, it was just Chandler.
Chandler Jones. So it's like, well, we need to get this, we need to get that, we need to get this. It's like, well, look, that's what the old regime would do. They would panic and they would just try to fill holes that season with short-term fixes, and they would overpay the position and overpay the specific player. I'm still holding fast at $17 million a year for a starting defensive end is not too much to pay. We just paid the wrong defensive end last year, but the position was right.
$5 million in dead cap for Carl Nassib.
God damn,
backup defensive end.
Dude, Carl Nassib, freaking Brown, Littleton, Kwiatkowski, Joyner. Like the list goes on and on, man. Like all these guys that they brought in and paid way too much money for. The plan is now starting to shape up. We're not going to spend a lot of money while we still have this dead cap, because everything that happens that goes wrong is going to be magnified because of that dead cap.
Yeah. So
let's just chill. Let's start focusing on the younger players. Let's start focusing on the depth of the roster, and then we'll add the pieces when we have the money to do so, and it's not going to really cripple us in free agency, and we can then identify and sign our own guys to early for longer, so we can get them a little bit cheaper.
And there's a big difference between. So there's very important things to consider, right? We've mostly, not all the way, mostly dug our way out of the cap issues of Gruden and Mayock. Mostly $30 million, and then next year, basically out of it. Still not nothing. Mostly got out of it.
Like 9.
But roster-wise, it takes years to get out of the hole of multiple bad drafts. Now, again, in fairness to Gruden Mayock, there were some amazing gems they cranked out, right? Maxx Crosby, Hunter Renfrow, first for Miller, first for Jacobs. Like they made their hits. Generally, atrocious drafting. You don't fix that in 2 years. Cap stuff you can fix in 2 years.
They got nothing for the 19 draft, like zero.
The bad drafting,
or a 20.
That affects you multiple seasons. It can set you back half a decade. And this is so when we look at is Josh McDaniels a bad coach? Maybe. Is Dave Ziegler a bad GM? Maybe. This is their advantages. They came in with a full draft class, good salary situation generally, blah, blah, blah. Came in with terrible 4 seasons of drafting. Came in and were forced to do really terrible dead cap. This is what they had going for them. This is what they had against them. And these are the layers in depth that you need to use to assess how this regime is doing. And again, it's too early to tell.
Yeah,
this is the table that's set for this upcoming season.
Again, it's still a game that these men are out there making a living, and they want to perform well, and they want to to feed their families and set up their future and set up their kids' future, right? So it's not like they're not going to go out there and try to win, but we do have to show some measure of patience. And I know, like our buddy Rory, right, the other windbag, like he said, "Oh yeah, we've been losing for 20 years, and you want us to be patient." Like, well, if you're an adult about it and you take a look at the stuff that we've talked about, well, yeah, you have to treat every regime for what it is. It's like you can't make the current girlfriend pay because the other girlfriend was freaking toxic. You know what I'm saying? It's like this is a new person here. And although we do want to win and we want to win right now, it's like we do have to know that there's steps to be made to undo some of the things that were done previous.
I sympathize with Rory because I think his main premise, which I get, I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but I understand where he's coming from, is we finally found a spark with Bisaccia and like that regime. Like we went to the playoffs, right? We had everything go wrong 2 seasons ago. Everything go wrong. Lost our wide receiver, lost our coach, anarchy, right? And we went to the playoffs and we're 1 play away from beating the AFC champions. Like, I understand Rory saying, like, let's parlay that. Like, we had something. Let's see where that can take us. And we didn't. And we started over and it fell apart. I understand that frustration where 2 seasons ago, this Mark Davis screwed up, and we shouldn't have done that. It's like, okay, maybe, but we're not back in 2021 anymore.
Yeah,
we're here. Like, but yeah, in high school, maybe I should have sucked it up and asked the prom queen on a date. I didn't. I'm here now. All right, like we can.
Like I think you did pretty well for yourself, sir.
You know, she's not the prom queen, but she was the high school captain of the high school cheerleading team. So I took my my consolation prize. My point being, we can go back and be like, well, we should have done this, and I'm frustrated we didn't, which is fine. Like, we're fans. Like, we can be pissed about what we did or didn't do in the past. Now, moving forward, what do we do? And again, like you're a little more forgiving of this regime. I'm a little more harsh. We're both exactly in the same realm of 1 year's not enough. What 1 year is not enough to say
with what
we're done, move on, start over.
No way, man. No way. No way was it 1 year going to be enough. But it's like, look, and what did I say when we were talking about this? I think the first heated conversation that we had about Bisaccia and what should have happened. So, okay, let's see if he gets a job somewhere else. And he didn't. So it's not like we hired a guy that other teams were jumping at to hire, or we let a guy go that other teams were jumping at to hire. Nobody hired him for a head coaching job either. So there's that. And, if you take a look at that season, that we were very fortunate to make the playoffs that year, man. We were like 18th in offense and like 28th in defense. And we made the playoff. We won 10 games. And the last 4 games that we won, our quarterback turned the ball over more times than he threw touchdowns. And we faced 3 backup quarterbacks the last 4 weeks. It's like, dude, we a lot of stuff, panned out for us that year. But you take a look at what we had to deal with, and you take a look at, more than likely if you keep Bisaccia, you keep Mayock. He's part of the reason why we're in such a shitty situation, both dead cap wise and roster wise. Let's just make a clean break and, try a different direction.
Well, and that's more a indictment of how good Bisaccia was, that it was a team that was falling apart and he still found wins, right? It's because that's,
well, if you want to say that's how good he was,
mm-hmm.
I think he had a horseshoe firmly placed up his ass. I think we were very lucky those last 4 weeks to win those games.
I mean, if you're going to win games you're not supposed to, I'm going to put that on coaching.
Cool.
It could be luck.
It could also be luck.
You could, but I think when you're evaluating, you can't be like, all right, well, it's just luck, move on. It's like, well,
I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't. That's why I said you evaluate the situation, pluses and minuses, and it's like, you know what? I think it's better if we just move on.
I missed the fuck out of Bisaccia, man. He was so
give him a call. He ain't doing nothing.
Dude, I would.
He ain't doing nothing right now.
No, he's special teams at Green Bay,
right? Is he
right?
still there?
He's busy. He's got shit to do.
He
He's got shit to do. So along those lines, since it's McDaniels and Ziegler's team, the Raiders released their first depth chart. How exciting. This is I'm if you think I'm trying to be sarcastic, you're wrong. I'm genuinely excited looking at this.
Did the Raiders release this?
The Raiders, so it's very important distinction. The coaching staff did not release this depth chart. The media department released this. Okay. So
that's okay. I get it.
It means something, but it means specifically something, right? So Josh McDaniels did not say, Alex Bars is starting at right guard. And again, and it's important. Even if the coaching staff put this out, it's the first week of preseason, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of like
nothing means nothing, so it means something. But how much of a something is up to
even I know you seeing Alex Bars starting at right guard gives you diarrhea. Even if it was Josh McDaniels who specifically put this here, it makes sense that really early in training camp, Alex Bars is one at right. He played there last year. Someone needs to beat him out. It's not outrageous, right?
Yeah.
So it's really small, so you probably can't see it that well. We'll give you
Alex Bars starting makes me feel like somebody undercooked my chicken.
So we'll give you 6 players that I think were the most kind of discussable. Alex Bars, Austin Hooper, Jerry Tillery, right guard, tight end, linebacker, all starting, according to this.
Defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle, excuse me. Brandon Parker, tackle. Thayer Munford, guard. Jakorian Bennett, corner. Not starting.
Did you say Porter?
Brandon Parker.
Did you say corner instead of corner?
Corner. I have not just the corn dog, bloomin' onion, and chili cheese fries. Also other beverages as well. So I apologize ahead of time. So three guys starting: Bars, Hooper, Tillery. Not starting: Parker, Munford, Bennett. I would feel like those are the six where, not shocking or crazy, but like I would feel like, okay, I think those are the six most interesting elements. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole Bennett thing, it's teams aren't gonna come out in a pro set. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna have at least three wide receivers out there more often than not. We're gonna be in nickel.
And the defense was a 4-3.
It's gonna be
a specific thing. So Nate Hobbs was on the outside in a 4-3, which is most likely not the scenario, right? It's mostly 5 DBs, Hobbs in the slot. So it's very it matters, but very preliminary.
Yeah, I just I mean, it's what we expected after how last season ended. It's like, okay, the starters are there. The tight end with more experience is up there. Tillery was starting last year inside. Bars was starting. I just it's like I said, we're not going to play a lot of 4-3. It's going to be more of a 3-3 type front in a nickel, and
we're going to play 4-3 against 4 teams.
Even then, not so much.
Yeah,
we probably have one
handful of run-heavy teams.
Either Chandler Jones or Maxx Crosby are going to be with hand out of the dirt. So yeah, like you said, nothing means nothing. It means something, but I think what it more means is, okay, this is a starting point, and let's see where we go from here.
I think Jerry Tillery starts just because linebacker is so shallow.
I mean, defensive tackle.
God damn it. Defensive tackle. Because defensive tackle is so shallow, right? I think he's there. The Austin Hooper one's kind of fun because you'd think, all right, second round pick, biggest steal of the second round, Micah Mayer, Notre Dame tight end. Maybe it's not quite that cut and dry, right? That maybe Hooper's impressing and they're going to all right, we're going to let Mayer kind of develop. Or it could easily be, all right, the veteran automatically is one until the rookie proves otherwise. Could easily also be the case, right? I'm still betting September 10th Broncos. The starting tight end is Michael Mayer, but I can understand this mentality, right? Brandon Parker, we thought would find somewhere somehow. It doesn't look like that's the case.
Not really, man. I haven't heard any buzz about Brandon Parker. Zero. I
feel like this regime wants Munford to start because they drafted him, but it looks like Eluemenor is just doing better and is going to beat him out. The one thing that's the biggest question mark for me, and it's not just this depth chart, it's also been what we've heard from the beat writers. Alex Bars, he's got right guard kind of not locked up, but it's his right now until it's ripped from him, which I know pisses you off.
Well, I mean, look, if he's improved, to be fair, he came in last season as a kind of a tweener guy, right? He was covering multiple positions. He didn't really get a lot of work with the first team offensive line, and he was kind of thrust into that towards the end of training camp. Not really, more I feel like week 4-ish is when he started to really come on.
I can't wait to hear you defend Alex Bars right now.
I'd love to say that he improved as the year went along, but he just didn't. I feel, look, everyone else in the offense, I feel on the offensive line improved as the year went along. I think Alex Bars just is who he is. And which is not a starting caliber guard in the NFL. from what I've seen, it's when you see the same mistake happening over and over again, it's not a mental mistake. It's just a physical limitation. He's just not good enough to play the way he was used the last 3-4 weeks of the year.
Why do you think he's holding down that position? Is everyone else that bad? Do you have any idea?
I just think it's a placeholder, and they want to see these guys play against, not someone that's not on their team. I think once we start doing we did the joint practices, right? Already? Is that what we're doing? Is that this week or next week?
It's this week.
Yeah. So the joint practices are going to, of course, I mean, we all know the joint practices mean more than the preseason games because, actual starters play in the joint practices. It's more controlled. They can control, down and distance and all that stuff. And they can see exactly what they want to see out of the players by what they choose to do as far as, situations. And
so those are the 6 players I pointed out that I thought were, if not surprising, at least worthy of discussion. Anything else? Any other players? Any other positions that you think worth discussing? Obviously, Josh Jacobs isn't in here. Tyree Wilson's still hurt, so he's kind of blah blah blah.
Yeah. No, I think it's all right. I think, like I said, it's a placeholder.
Hoyer ahead of O'Connell. Is there anything there that interests you?
I think O'Connell's going to play most. I think O'Connell. I don't think they want Hoyer out there at all. I know for a fact they don't want freaking Garoppolo out there at all. I think it's just going to be a ton of O'Connell and Garbers.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking preseason.
Yeah, preseason.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like either half and half, or it's going to be mostly O'Connell and a little bit of Garbers at the end.
Okay. All right, well, moving on. So Albert Breer of SI.com. He travels to. You like Breer? You a Breer guy?
I like him a lot. Yeah, I think he's real smart. I think his stuff is really good.
He's pretty nuts and bolts, which I appreciate. And again, I can disagree with a lot of Raider Nation. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I think the Raiders beat writers are pretty good. I think they're pretty good. I think they're diversified enough where they serve different purposes. Where you have like Vinny, who's like in bed with the Raiders, but he gets scoops. You got Vic Tafer, who's outside looking in, so he's very objective. You got Paul Gutierrez of ESPN, who's ESPN, but he's been around forever. I think it's a nice, diverse little group of guys. But it's nice when you have someone brand new outside looking in, because sometimes when you're stuck in the forest so much, you don't see the trees, right?
And also a guy that's not going to mail it into it, just going to look on the surface. This is like Albert Breer is going to really get in there and give you the good stuff.
And it's like, okay, like, the coaching staff or PR people are like, SI is in here. Like, let's give you X, Y, and Z. Let's talk a little bit more. And he hasn't been bogged down with what we've been discussing ad nauseum for 6 months. It's just like, I'm flying in, looking, moving out. And that bird's eye view is useful. I'd much rather listen to Vinny or Vic on a day-to-day basis, but a bird's eye view is very useful. So when he did his observations of camp, I paid attention. And I highly recommend you listen. You read the whole thing. But there's 2 big things I wanted to pay attention to the most. He was talking about the defensive backs and the defense in general. And he ended that note with this. A key at the position and really all over the defense is going to be ball production. Guys getting their hands on the ball and guys taking the ball away. You look at the history of some of the above names, you'll see that emphasis come to life. He was talking about Nate Hobbs, Tyler Hall, Marcus Peters, guys the Raiders have brought in, guys the Raiders have now. So if you remember my big frustrations of this defense, and obviously it sucked, but it had no identity. It had no mission. It had no goal. It had no look, we're young, we're not great, this roster isn't fantastic, but we're going to do this, and this is what we're going to do well. Even under Gus Bradley 2 seasons ago, bad defense, not a good defense, but it had an identity. We're not getting beat deep. And we didn't. We really didn't. And we played some really good deep ball teams. They would piece us apart. They would cut us apart. They'd score a lot of points, but we wouldn't get beat deep. The big plays, we were really good at keeping that down. Trevon Moehrig thrived in that environment, and a lot of players thrived in that environment. It's like, look, we're not going to get beat deep. We're not going to give you big plays. We're going to give offenses a chance to beat themselves, which in the NFL, there's a lot of bad offenses, And so it was a sound strategy. It didn't work well. Again, the defense was bad. But I was like, okay, you're using the pieces that you have. Let's just be you have to beat us 7 yards at a time team. Got it. This last season, we're kind of nothing. Like, we were almost dead last in sacks, almost dead last in turnovers, almost dead last in points scored. Like, we were in the high 20s in every defensive scheme. And it was nothing there. It's like, what's our identity? Like, I get it. Like, okay, we're not good. We're young. There's not talent there. We're in cap purgatory. Like, I could be very forgiving with our roster, but let's pick something. Let's grab onto something and be that. It looks like this season, Soto, and tell me if I'm exaggerating or way off mark. It sounds like it's still the same scenario. Roster's not great, but it's like, look, we're getting turnovers. We are getting our hands on the ball. We're drafting DBs that are undersized. They're probably going to get beaten 50-50 balls. They're not going to be great tacklers, but they got hands. We got guys that when the ball's on the turf, they're diving for it. When the ball's in the air, they're jumping for it. We might give up some points. We might give up some yards. They might move the sticks, but we're going to get some fucking turnovers this season. And the more and more I read about this roster and this Albert Breer article specifically, I'm thinking, okay, I feel like that's the identity that defensive coordinator Patrick Graham is going for. Like, we're going to get turnovers come hell or high water. What say you?
Yeah, I think what the identity was supposed to be last year defensively was pressure on the quarterback to help the back end. Unfortunately, it was pretty much just Maxx Crosby putting pressure on the quarterback, at least the first half of the season. Chandler Jones came on a little bit the second half of the season, and we saw a little bit of, that's when we scored a couple of defensive touchdowns, stuff like that. So I think there's more of the same this year, but we have the ability because of another draft, another year removed from the big dead cap. We can put more pieces that we're looking for on that back end. Linebacker is, they're comfortable with who they have at linebacker. Not very deep, but if Spillane and Diablo play the majority of the snaps, then I think that's pretty good linebackers. So it's going to be more of the same. You can tell them they're drafting too. The linemen that they drafted were guys that get after the quarterback, right? So get after the quarterback and take the ball away on the back end. That's the identity of this team. It's complementary football, right? You already have Maxx Crosby, who's one of the elite guys in the league, right? Get another guy on the opposite side
and it's smart. That's where you start. It's like, look, we got one of the best guys in football, any position.
Play off your strengths.
Let's build off there, and that all helps everything on the back end, right? Like, it should be no-brainer football, right? And it feels like that's kind of what they're doing, right? It's like, look, Max is going to get there. We're hoping Chandler's going to get there. Eventually, Tyree's going to get there. Get greedy, DBs. Like, I know you're 5'10", right? Like, you're going to get beat by the 6'3" dudes from Cincy, but we can handle a couple of those if it means you get your hands on the ball and get some fucking turnovers, because this defense has not been good at that for a while. And it feels like that's kind of what they're going for, right? Like, and we talk about it all the time, right? Offensive line. Best case scenario, your O-line is great at everything. You're huge. You can pass block. You can bully guys. You're fast. That's the goal. But there's a salary cap. You can't pay the best player of every position on the line. You got to pick something, right? And you look at the Niners, right? They're really fast O-line. Like, all right, we have this elaborate run scheme. We're going to get guys pulling off the edge. It's what we do. You'd be terrible in the Ravens offense because you're not big enough, but you'd be great in our offense. So that's how we're moneyballing it, right? It feels like that's what we're doing here. We're moneyballing it. It's like, look, we invested in the pass rush. We invested in the D-line, hoping it pans out. You guys are playing off that. You guys don't have to be that physical. You guys don't have to be, unlike your cat, it's whacking his tail off the camera.
Get out of here.
You don't have to be that. Just, we're going to be disruptive on the front end. You guys take advantage, right? Maxx Crosby is going to fucking punch Patrick Mahomes in the taint. The ball's going to come fluttering out.
Got to capitalize.
Bennett, you better be there. Peters, you better be there. Moehrig, you better be there.
And it's smart. It's a smart strategy because
it makes sense. I'm finally getting it.
Last year. I talked about it last year. You can have a defense that gives up a lot of yards, maybe even a good amount of points, as long as you create turnovers. That's kind of the cheat code, right? Mm-hmm. So if we can create those turnovers, we can stack up and kind of double up like a little 2-for-1 scoring wise, right? We score, turnover, score.
The focus is in the right place.
Yeah.
Of all the metrics of football.
It makes a lot. It makes a ton of sense now. You're using what you have, what you're best at, which is pressuring the quarterback. Now you have to play complementary football behind that. You don't have all the pieces you want right now because you're still building the depth and everything. So what's the best way to kind of take advantage of those prime max years? Well, now is great. Let's get some guys that can get those turnovers.
Turnovers is the home run ball. It cures all of your ailments, right?
Yeah, a team can drive into the red zone on you, like as long as you turn it over,
you're good.
They're there. Yeah,
right? Like it's like
it never happened.
It washes away so many sins. You know what I mean? It's like a moo-moo for an old lady. You know what I mean? Like you have no idea, right? And also this part too. Real quick, Paul Gutierrez, and everyone's been talking about it. Another good day for the defense / rough day for the offense. Garoppolo picked off 3 times on one day. 2 dropped. Aiden O'Connell also picked off. You can look at it, one of 2 ways. The offense is floundering or the defense is succeeding. But that means to me that's been the focus. That's the focus of this defense. Get that motherfucking ball and get the sticks going the other way. And it's like, okay, for the first time, or not the first time in forever, but unlike last season, I feel like there's an identity. There's an identity to this defense. We're going to rush the quarterback, we're going to be disruptive, and we're going to get turnovers.
Yep.
It's like, all right.
Makes sense.
I get it. I love it. One more thing that Breer brought up that I want to talk about. He said, and I quote, "I expect to see first-round pick Tyree Wilson return to practice field at some point over the next 2 weeks." The first time I read that, I'm like, ugh, bummer. He's still hurt, still rehabbing, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I generally still feel that way. Like I wish he was there getting those very crucial rookie reps, right? But I also thought to myself, please don't rush him back. We didn't draft him to immediately turn this defense around week 1. We drafted him 6th overall to be the cornerstone of this defense for the next 10 years. And if he comes back hurt and it parlays and it's even worse, his confidence goes to shit because he's playing hurt, like blah, 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 blah. It's like, wrap Tyree Wilson in bubble paper. Take your time.
Yeah. I said it before, man.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. Wait till he's healthy and then a couple days. Mm-hmm. Wait till he's right. And just make sure, right? We actually drafted him number 7. You were very close. You probably would have won the prize.
We had 6. We have an old lineman from Northwestern. Thank God we had number 7.
Yeah. So look, it's smart. He's been practicing, doing stuff on the side. He was working with Byron Young as well together. Byron Young came back this week. Breer said in the next couple of weeks because he's actually doing stuff. He's just not practicing with the team. So he's doing the individual drills.
And it's the first time I've seen a number tied to when he come back. 2 weeks. Because, like McDaniels, Ziegler.
If he comes back, if it's the 22nd of August and he's still not back, then we should worry. So not this Monday, but the one after.
I definitely want to see.
After, excuse me.
I definitely want to see multiple preseason reps. I definitely want to see that. He needs to feel it a little bit.
Yeah.
Before we go. So
just to get the speed of it, man. The speed is just so
man.
different.
Your first snap shouldn't be in a real game.
Yeah.
You gotta have a couple, right? Especially defensive end, right? Like even though he's coming off injury, it's not a position where you're injury prone, right? Like you should be divvying out the punishment, not the other way around, Anyway. In Raider news, and it's a weird thing to follow because it is Raider news, but it's due to be discussed. Henry Ruggs III sentenced to 3 to 10 years for that fatal DUI that he had in Las Vegas. That judgment came down we're recording on a Wednesday night, and it came down today. 3 to 10 years. It happened back in November of 2021, the drunk driving incident that killed that poor girl and her dog. He'll be eligible for parole after 3 years. It's kind of wild that he could potentially still play in the NFL. 3 years from now, he's in his still mid-20s.
I don't know if that's
going to happen.
It's not the issue. It's the fact that he's not going to be training in jail.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be training the way he needs to train as a wide receiver in jail.
Building prison muscle.
Yeah, it's going to be
nothing
different.
But bench press.
Dude, I'm doing a lot of bodyweight stuff with the fighters at the gym. You can get freaking strong as hell just doing bodyweight stuff. But it's just, I don't know, man. I'm all about giving people second chances. So just talk to me when he's out, and see how I feel then. Right now,
I'm a huge believer in, like, if you paid your debt to society, you're back. You're back. You're back in society, right?
Yeah.
Like, and few people pay their debt to society more than someone like Henry Ruggs, where, like, I'm not trying to compare someone's life to another, but if you're a plumber and you made the same mistake, you're not giving up a multi-million-dollar NFL career the same way another person could, right? Like, he's not just losing 3 to 10 years of his life. He's losing 3 to 10 years of an NFL player's life. And again, it doesn't compare to the woman that he killed, but when you pay your debt to society, you've paid your debt. You gave up a fuck ton. Especially something like this, where it was a dumb mistake. It's not like he killed like his baby mama, or you know what I mean? Like, went out and did something
that's
specifically malicious. It was terrible, awful decision making, and there was unrecoverable consequences because of it.
Yeah,
that was clearly not his goal, right? You paid it to society, come out, make the most you can out of your life after that.
Ask me when he's out.
Ready to do some What Windbags?
Some what?
I'm telling you, dude. I've been at the fair all day.
You're feeling it, bro. Yeah,
I've been at the fair all day.
What up, Windbags? Yes,
I've been in the sun.
I could tell. You look a little pinkish.
Feeling great.
You're doing great, man. I believe you.
We were gonna talk Raiders Niners preseason, but we're already an hour into the show, so we should
honestly, it's the first preseason game. Like, how much can you break down?
I have a lot of things to talk about. Like, generally, like we talk about preseason games like they're nothing, they're bullshit, and they are. I have a lot of things I want to see. I have a lot of questions in these preseason games, mostly because we have a team. I think the Raiders have a team that preseason can tell a lot, because there's so many positions up for grabs, so many young guys, so many dudes that are just like trying to make their mark. It's like, yeah, like and even guys that aren't, like Ziegler White's probably going to start, right? Like, what can you show us, right? Like,
I want to see Favre out there flinging that thing.
Do we super miss Josh Jacobs, or does Zeus crush it, right?
Did you see my video on Zeus?
Yeah.
He's so goddamn country. It's amazing.
It's awesome. Oh,
man, Georgia, we got horses, we got pigs and goats, we got everything.
Georgia, baby. Shit. Georgia. Garoppolo, he needs reps, but how many reps do you give a guy who's super injury prone?
He ain't getting in the preseason, dude.
That's the question, right? Like, that's something to be discussed.
I think that's going to be all joint practice, right
side of the O-line. Who gets what? Who starts first? Who does what? Like, these are who gets all the reps at corner. Like, these are, do we do a lot of 4-3? Do we do a lot of 5 defensive backs? A lot of nickel? You're acting like preseason's nothing. Like, when it comes to like wins and losses, you're right. But for this specific team, I have a ton of questions in the preseason. I'll be on. Hold on. Let me move my butt to the edge of my seat for preseason time. Also, it's the only preseason game that we're going to be able to do a post show together, because I'm traveling all the other ones.
This guy.
So multiple reasons. But we'll save that for later in the week. We'll do a live show on YouTube. Ooh. What up, Windbags? Patty, can you tell your pussy to be quiet, please? Patty, no mayonnaise, 98-66. Remember Patty Mayonnaise from was it Doug, the cartoon?
I was
Doug?
too old to watch Doug.
You're only like 4 years older than me.
I think
it was Doug.
I'm 6 years older than you. I will be 46 in a month.
You fucking geriatric bastard. You're 6 years older than me?
Yep.
I think her name was Patty Mayonnaise from the cartoon Doug. Anyway, porn star Jimmy would have smacked Max around like a porn star's ass cheeks.
Porn star Himmy.
Porn star Himmy.
Himmy G. Yeah, that wouldn't have happened. Max is smart enough to not beat his ass.
When Maxx Crosby had to run laps because there was like a little like they were yelling at each other and it was like a thing in practice. Jimmy Garoppolo and Maxx Crosby.
Well, I think the lap was because he jumped off sides, which caused the ball to kind of be fumbled around, and that's where the whole kerfuffle started. But yeah, he's like one of those guys where you just look at him and be like, "Come on, guy, you really want to do this? Because I'm going to beat the shit out of you."
It's weird. Like I've had the blessing of meeting Maxx Crosby a handful of times, and he shot again, world-class athlete, Pro Bowl NFL defensive end. Clearly, he's a specimen. But when it comes to like NFL players, he's not that physically imposing. He's not like a Trent Brown or, like there's like monsters, right? There's monsters out there. You're like, holy shit, we're not the same species. That's not Maxx Crosby. And I mean that more as a compliment because it's like, yeah, your motor is what got you to who you are. It's not like you're just blessed with, genetic abilities that no one has. You do because you're an NFL Pro Bowler. But he's not just like this dude who's just like, I look at him just like in awe, like, whoa, it's like I look at the Empire State Building. He's not.
You know what I think it is?
Crazy specimen.
I think it's because look at my guy. Look at my guy right here. He's going crazy. He's just being dumb.
Do you have tiger bed sheets?
Yeah.
Is that new?
No, I've had those.
Are you single so you get tiger bed sheets because you think it's going to get you laid?
I don't think those have gotten me laid, but they haven't not gotten me laid.
It's the Raider flag in the background.
They haven't stopped me from getting laid.
It's your cats digging that gets you laid.
So he just seems very proportioned. He's like 275 pounds, so he's not a small guy, but he's tall, he's long.
He's a Pro Bowl NFL.
His shoulders are wide, but he's not thick front to back. So he just looks like a guy that works out, but he's proportioned. So he looks like from far away, he looks, oh, this guy's like 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". And you go up to him and you're like, oh shit, this guy's like 6'6", 6'5". So I think that's what because you see like these big hulking guys, they're big front to back, like they're wide that way. He's not, but he's very like broad shouldered.
Well, when I think of like who's the Browns tight end? That's just like a specimen. What's his name?
Oh, the guy from Georgia, 6'7" dude, the Washington.
What's his name? There's dudes that like
6'7".
There's dudes like Francis Ngannou looking motherfuckers.
Oh, it's Njoku,
right? He looks like Mr. Olympia.
Pittsburgh. Sorry, the guy from Georgia went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he looks like Mr. Olympia in shoulder pads. You're just like,
he's got like a 32-inch waist and like 30-inch arms. I'm like, Jesus,
I'm not the same species as you. Like, that's unbelievable the type of specimen you are, right? And again, once again, for the 100th time, before like people blow up at me in the comment section, Maxx Crosby is an NFL Pro Bowler. He is a physical specimen. But
he's
compared,
all pro, sir.
All pro, a blessing from the gods. But when you compare him purely based on genetic gifts, there's certain athletes that overcome where they are genetically, and there's athletes that undergo where they are genetically, right? Like I think of like Michael Bisping, right? UFC middleweight champion. That guy had minimal genetic gifts. He's nothing special. Like he was not crazy fast twitch muscle. Wasn't super muscle bound. He wasn't anything. He became UFC champion based on just skill, grit, toughness, a little bit of luck, but mostly like
his opponent really not training for the fight,
right? Like he accomplished what he did based on what he was able to like pull out of his physical ability. There's guys like that. Maxx Crosby, that guy, and I mean that as a compliment. I mean that as a giant compliment. Maxx Crosby is not Aaron Donald genetically. He's not Joey Bosa genetically. But he's as good as those guys, if not better, on his own accord.
What he does have, he maximizes what he does have.
That's all you can ask somebody, right? That's all you can ask. Like, here are the cards you're dealt, playing the best you can. And Maxx Crosby's like, I'm going to get 17 royal flushes, even though I only have 3 cards in my hand.
I'll figure it out.
Bama Bob 99. Yo guys have probably talked about this in another episode, and my bad memory let me forget. What do you think of the exchange between Patrick Mahomes and Maxx Crosby on the TV series Quarterback? You've been following Quarterback on Netflix? Did you watch it?
I watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes.
So you saw the back and forth with
I did.
Mahomes and Crosby.
Yeah, it's just I thought it was cool to look at because it gave us a little bit of an insight on what was actually said. So I've heard some people say, "Oh, you don't want to wind up Mahomes like that, this and that, blah blah." It's not going to matter whether you do it or not. He has the same mentality, right? But yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to get in there and you just want to be yourself. You know, you're not gonna to suppress who you are because you're afraid of what it's going to bring out in somebody else. You're going to be yourself and you're going to do what you do and fuck everybody else.
I learned that Mahomes is a whiny bitch.
Oh, every time he gets hit,
every play, hey, ref, you know,
every single time he gets
flicked
touched.
me in the shoulder. Oh, ref, what the fuck?
Every single time he gets touched, he's crying.
Every time, dude. It's
Bitch
like, he literally like Maxx Crosby like runs into him and just like pushes his tricep. Like, hey, he punched me. You punched me in the shoulder. What the
Every time he hits the ground, he looks up at the ref. What? You gonna call that? Oh my
Every
God,
time, like, dude,
shut the hell up.
You're not Tom Brady. Like, you don't get that yet. Maybe he does. Maybe we're the assholes. Maybe he gets it. Maybe he gets that
change rules because if he gets hurt, we'll see if they change the rules because
maybe he just wins in volume. You know what I mean? He's like a dude with shitty game at the bar, but he just like hits on everybody and eventually gets it. Like he eventually gets laid. Maybe that's Patrick Mahomes. He's like he complains every play and he gets 2 or 3 extra penalties.
Every single play.
Every play. Fucking pussy. Martin Bartholomew, 75-52. This was on one of your live shows. So, I don't want to hear about Derek Carr unless you and AJ, I'm assuming I'm AJ, are arguing about him. Then it's fucking entertaining. So I've been following. So I see in our comment section, I'm trying to do What Up Windbags. Like we don't talk about Derek Carr on our shows hardly ever, but I see a ton of Derek Carr shit because when you do solo shows, there's always Derek Carr shit. Is that because I would call you out on that? Or is it just like, look, I don't want to fight with RJ anymore. We're over it. Let me get out of the way when RJ's not here. Because I feel like it's therapeutic for you to be able to do your Derek Carr bashing just to kind of like get it out of your system and feel normal.
That was not the case.
Okay.
The issue, specifically on my last live, there was a guy coming on and we were talking about the interceptions in training camp not being a big deal, especially early on. But look at it this way. I heard it put this way earlier today, and I think it's really smart. For an offensive play to work, all 11 players need to do their job correctly. If one guy fucks up, the play's fucked up, right? On defense, 10 guys could fuck up. As long as one guy does something right, he can blow up the play. Okay? So the defense early on is a lot further along than the offense.
Yeah.
The calls are like a third, like the plays call are like a third long, right? Also, something that Josh McDaniels said, it was the reason why I brought it up because of his press conference. He said he's not worried about the interceptions because these DBs are seeing the same things over and over again. After a while, like, okay, I noticed this grouping and then this formation. Okay, if this player does this and that player does that, I know what they're trying to do, right? And
the learning curve for offense is longer than
putting
defense.
A lot of wrinkles in right now early because they're trying to get, they'll put that in game-specific stuff. They'll put the wrinkles in. This is just the vanilla-based stuff that they're doing. So, yeah, that's why I said that. And then this guy started popping off on some stupid shit because I said, look, It doesn't matter really because look, last season our quarterback didn't throw an interception in training camp, and he was like leading the league in interceptions during the season. So it doesn't really matter. Training camp it's different, and it triggered him, and he started popping off. And I said, and I put him in his place. I was like, dude, I don't want to hear it anymore. I wasn't bashing our old quarterback. I was telling you as an example of what was going on. And then he came back with, okay, let me ask you an honest question. Okay. You know what? You come at me like that respectfully, sure. Ask your question. And then he said, if we lose this year, are fans still going to blame Derek Carr? And I'm just like, what are you talking about, guy? And I just said, you know what? No one's blaming Derek Carr right now. But I said, I know what I'm cautious against. And this is one of the reasons why I'm telling people to move on from the old quarterback, because it's just going to make you miserable. Anything bad that happens to our team, it's going to be, oh, Derek Carr would have done better. Derek Carr would have done this, right? It's like when you miss your ex-girlfriend, you forget all the bad stuff.
Nuts if you look at this season.
Yeah, you forget all the bad stuff about your toxic ex-girlfriend, and you're going to think about her sweet tits, right?
Yeah.
It's like you got to like move on and leave it behind you, because if you keep looking back, you're never going to be happy. So that's
why you never bring him up.
Yeah,
for that reason.
Well, I didn't bring him up. The guy asked this question about me. The guy asked the question. So that was the whole thing of that. And I know it's funnies and you poke needles at me, but like I don't bring him up on my lives. Like if I get asked a question, I'll answer.
Bring him up in text messages to me, in DMs to me.
Yeah, because I'm fucking with you.
But I've
you fucking me on air.
I've given up on like trying to stop you because I really think I genuinely feel like it's therapeutic. Like you hated Carr so much.
I don't hate Derek Carr, dude. I really don't hate Derek Carr.
But you hate him so much, you're like, look.
No, see, that's the thing is
I need to be therapeutic. Getting this out of my system.
I don't hate him. I wanted to move on from him for quite some time. There's a difference. I don't hate the guy.
Okay. Well, the more you bring him up and text me and DM me about him, I'm not going to stop you because I feel like
just like you fuck with me on air, like about being fixated on him, right? That I'm fucking with you.
I wouldn't do that if you weren't texting and DMing me about.
Well, it's a vicious cycle. Then it's a vicious circle.
But I feel like it's therapeutic and it's getting it out of your system, and you're better off because of it.
I think so.
I think so too. That's it for us. So we definitely ran out of time. We're gonna have to do a live show. Do you feel like the first preseason game deserves a preview show?
All right, we can do that. I think we can.
I want to twist your arm.
No, I think so, because I think you kind of sold me on it, because there are a lot of position battles that we want to look into.
Super young team.
A super young team.
Who plays,
I think we're going to get a lot of Farva. It's a full draft class, right? A full class. We had picks in every single round, multiple in some. Let's see how they do. And, there's these guys that are the bubble guys like Amik Robertson and Polomau and like some of these guys out there that, hey, you know what? Let's see what they've learned after that, first year for Polomau and a couple of years for Robertson. Let's see, how we're doing out there. Let's see with the David Longs, who didn't play really that well with the Rams, but looking good in camp. The Duke Shelleys could look good in spots. Let's see how they do.
You sold me. We'll do a pre-show. We'll do a live pre-show at some point on YouTube. Done. It's fucking football season, baby.
I love it.
We're getting a football-like substance this weekend. Can't wait.
And
until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.